Okay.
Also Jesus.
Right. So all the things were already given to Jesus, right? He literally, like, that's what people don't understand. He accepted the calling. He went into the wilderness and he was tempted. And in the temptations of being in the wilderness, he was given what we would call the keys. He was given the keys. He was literally chosen because he had to go through the trials and everything the devil said to him while being in the wilderness, while he was fasting, being without food. Think about that. Think about the purpose of that. He was healing his body also. People don't understand about fasting.
Healing his body of what?
It's like a cleanse. It's a cleanse.
Oh, sorry. I thought you meant literally.
Both. Because fasting not only heals you spiritually, but it heals you physically also. And I think that he was doing everything in his power to almost go through the trials, like go through it. Like I said, everything the devil said to him, he said like the devil brought him up to the pinnacle of the temple, and he said, all these things I can give to you if you fall down and worship me. Now, he literally just gave him all power, like something that, you know what I mean, like people would want. He was able to overcome them, and like I said before, all the things the devil said to him, turn these stones into bread. He did everything to almost mock him in a way. Think about it. The things he was saying to him, like, okay, I can kind of mess with you. He's like, if you're the Son of God, you know what I mean? Have yourself not dash yourself against the stones. And he's like, he's saying certain things to him, kind of like messing with him. Like, we're reading it thinking like, this is like a conversation. But these are probably what Jesus himself was also battling within himself. Like, if you're the Son of God, why can't you turn this into bread?
All right.
You know what I mean? If you're the Son of God, make sure you don't need to fall, you don't fall on these stones. These things were, like I said, the things he had to go through to be able to be accepted into his calling. And remember what he says to Pontius Pilate. He says, when Pontius Pilate says to him, where's your kingdom? And he says, my kingdom is not of this world. Otherwise, I wouldn't be taken. So, I think a lot of people do kind of confuse this life with the end.
In what way?
Okay, so most people, they cry about this life. And they get so bent out of shape and kind of hurt when we die in this world. But I understand that this was never the final resting place. If you believe in Jesus, you believe in his resurrection also. You believe in the fact that you're going to go to the Father. As Jesus said, my Father is greater than all. And then he goes, he says, I've created a place for you. If it were not so, I would have told you. You know what I mean? He's saying, like, I'm going to put all these mansions in heaven for you. You're going to be risen again with me. And I think a lot of people don't understand that even the things he was saying is just about spiritual. Like, they're very spiritual. And how can you believe in the Father of spirits if you don't believe in spirits? His name is the Lord of hosts. No. Like his name, he has many different names and goes by different names. But how can you speak to something that you've never seen before a day in your life? You've never seen it a day in your life, right? But you don't believe in spirits.
It's because people think that he is
a physical man,
yeah.
And that makes no sense. Then you would see him. You would see him. God is a force. But also people, like I said, Jesus went through a lot of trials. Even in the Garden of Gethsemane, he was still being tested. The end, the final part was the biggest test. He He was led like a sheep to the slaughter. He said nothing because he didn't let anger take him. He could have been angry. He could have been mad. He could have shown way more emotions, but he never did. He showed many emotions, many other places, but when it was time to be tested, he was ready. And I think that like a lot of people don't understand that. Like they think that Jesus was like, oh, he's the Son of God. He called himself the Son of God, but it's like even Christ was tested. You know what I'm saying? So who do you think you are? If he calls himself, not he calling himself, it's the name that's given to him. It is his name, which is given to him. You know, so if he's the Son of God, being a title, which is given to him, how? Him being tested, coming to be your servant. Remember what I said before, like the other day I was talking about him washing the feet of the disciples. Mm-hmm. And then he says to him, if I being your Lord and Master do wash your feet, what must you do for one another? So it's like, if this man, who is spiritually established higher than you, being the Son of God, if he is spiritually established, being top tier, he is the top. He's the top. You could take this metaphorically or you could take this literally. It doesn't matter. If he is the top, what is the rest supposed to do? If Jesus Christ is the top, being the Son of God, as it says in John, all things were created for him and by him. All things were given to him. So if everything is created for him and by him, and he came into this earth, in this world, and did not wish to be worshipped. He didn't want to be worshipped. Because in the part in the Bible where it said they were going to make, for all the things he was doing, they were going to make him a king and take him. And then he said he fled. If he wanted to, he could have been worship in this life and live an easy life. But when you are speaking to many different people, you have to become like the people. You can't talk to people and be above them. And if he is like you, what does that say about the people who claim to be on top? Which in his day were the Pharisees. Mm-hmm. What does that say about the people who claim to be on top? If the Son of God, remember, like I said, this is a title. Just like God's name is a title. He earned that name. And it was given to him. Who gave it? We don't know, but he tells us his name. Right. So if Christ, like I said, came down and is serving you, and he washed the disciples' feet, what should we do as...
Follow his example.
Right. And that's why he's telling you, I am the way, the truth, and the life. Do you not understand?
Oh, I can't remember. But basically, like, we did an activity. But the whole activity was washing each other's feet.
Right.
And it was awkward, of course, but it's like, weirdly enough, that broke all the, animosity between... Right, because literally...
You have to humble yourself.
Yeah, there were buckets and like...
There's purpose by what...
Yeah.
Yes.
And it was like very eye-opening.
I think that's what Christ was trying to tell them. That's what he was trying to tell them. You need to become like the people. Stop elevating yourself above them. Separating yourself above them. And ostracizing them from you. Remember, who did he spend his time with?
People.
The people.
All the people.
You would call the sinners and the harlots or the publicans. And like I said, I think a lot of people missed the memo. Mm-hmm. Like they really did miss the memo on who they're actually serving. And I think that when you get to a certain understanding or belief or a certain way of practicing in your years of believing in Christ, sometimes you become puffed up. Like Paul says in the Bible. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes we get a little snobby. We get a little snooty. We go, I'd never do that. I'd never say that. I would never behave like that. I would never act like that. Mm-hmm. And it's like, you have to understand when you're talking to the people, yes, you have to come to their understanding. When you're trying to get people to believe in who you follow and you don't act like him, why do you think that people don't follow?
Right, because they think you're full of shit.
Right. That's fine. But truthfully, they don't follow you because how can you, being the example as members or whatever, don't follow? You have no compassion. You have no sympathy. You have no love inside of you. You have no empathy. And that's where I think a lot of people have to understand that that's what Jesus was saying when he's walking through the crowd and he's like, who touched me? And Peter's saying to him, like, Lord, we're going in this crowd and you want to ask who touched you? And then, obviously the woman appears and he says to her, the biggest part that caught my mind is when he goes, daughter. He called her daughter, showing that I have sympathy.
I think I asked you this the other day, but why daughter?
Right. We are children of God. No matter your age.
No, but, okay, I always thought, like he
and Jesus
her
is
a daughter, but
right,
his
but
daughter.
No, but understand that Jesus is the intermediary, right? For us, that's what people don't understand. Jesus is the in-between. He is the intermediary between us and God. And he calls her daughter, meaning that he's talking through me. God has so much empathy. He was showing himself to be empathetic and sympathetic to her pain, her suffering. That's what people don't understand. He showed not one hatred spirit in himself when he was on the cross.
But why did they think that she was, not worthy of him?
To be touched.
Yeah, why?
So back then, people with ailments and sicknesses, they wouldn't touch you.
But it seems like she was on her menstrual...
I really don't know. It just said... what's it say? The fact that she was, bleeding?
Right.
Right.
And they probably didn't know what to do back then.
Right.
At least in my opinion.
But, because he says, I feel virtue come from me. Maybe.
Come from me?
Come out of me.
Oh.
Flee from him.
Gotcha.
And that's why, Peter says to him, you ask, who touched you? Like, we're walking in this crowd and you're asking a question that we could never answer.
So Jesus had followers and non-followers.
So remember, we forget, Jesus had 70.
Is that what they get the quorum of 70?
Right. Jesus had 70. And they all left him. When he says, if you do not eat of my flesh and drink of my blood, then you'll have no part in me. When he's talking to them and they're like, yo, this is a hard saying. Like, they were saying, he must be mad.
Right.
And then he ended up with the 12. And then he said to them also, will you also go away from me? People don't understand that. A lot of things that Jesus said were literal and obviously parables. They were designed to make you think. He was saying certain things to you that was supposed to make you think. He was saying one thing with a whole message behind it.
Right.
And I think that was the problem with people. They didn't hear the messages. They just heard exactly what he was saying. They were listening to the words coming out of his mouth, not understanding the meaning behind what he is saying to you. So, Jesus said many things. Like I said, Jesus said many things in the Bible that made us go, oh, obviously this is what this means. Not understanding that there's a message, when he's talking about the temple and he's talking about in 3 days I shall rear this temple up. And then like 15, 6, or like something in a certain amount of years, this has been in building. And you're saying that the temple is going to be destroyed? Not understanding, as it says, he's talking about the temple of his body. Now, what does the Bible say? Obviously, your body is a temple. And if your body is a temple, obviously God can come in you. The Holy Ghost, the Spirit, which comes from God, can come into you. And yeah, your body is a vessel for the Spirit of God. And that's what people have to also remember that as well. Like, and that's what he's trying to say. God is with you and in you at all times, no matter where you go.
Right.
You know, no matter where you go. You know, God does not dwell in temples made with hands. Nobody is formed with a hand. Nobody ever used any hammer or nail to make you. Yet you were created.
So if that's the case, you know, the temples that are built
Okay.
nowadays.
Okay, so the temples that are built, in my opinion, they're symbolic. They're symbolic to you. Yeah, yes, you go to places and you sit down and you talk. That's very true.
But I
You
thought-
go you go to temples and you pray and do certain things. That is very true. But also, these buildings are supposed to represent a physical house for God, but you are another house. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Like these things were like imagery. Like I don't know how to explain that. Like it's really to me, in my opinion. I think they're supposed to be representations.
Okay.
You know, they're supposed to represent, like I said before, the body which God is coming to house Himself in.
Okay.
But you are really, you know, another form of this house. Because then how can the Holy Ghost go inside of you?
Right.
So then, like, that's, you know what I mean? So, but that's how I look at it, honestly. Like, that's my personal opinion. Most people would just get, like, upset with what I'm saying, but I'm like, no. I think churches were designed, or, like, temples in that same way, were still designed to be physical representations
Right.
of the house of God, meaning that God, we go here to worship Him, but honestly, you can worship Him everywhere.
Right. Because he's everywhere.
He's everywhere. If you have to go to a building to meet Him, that's good that you go to a building to meet Him, but
It's good to remember that
everywhere you go, He's there.
Right. You don't only have to go to a building to worship him and remember him and talk to him. You can do it every day of your life wherever you are.
Exactly. And that is like, I think that's what a lot of people are missing. Like, I'm not saying that you shouldn't go. I'm not saying that these different things don't build community.
Right.
That's probably what it's also for, to build community, to make people have, you know, experiences with another person, telling them about their spiritual experience.
Right.
So really, that's the point, I believe, of church, to have other people understand your spiritual experience. You hear their spiritual experiences, and you kind of have a community, and you build a spiritual bond with the people around you.
Right.
Remember
But
what
it's
Jesus
also
says, where 2 or more are gathered in my name, there am I in the midst of them. So in that reality, you going to church has that same effect. Wait, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. That's my opinion, though.
No, yeah, no, but I was gonna say, but yeah, churches bring community, but also like people shouldn't feel bad if they don't go every Sunday or
Right.
Saturday or whatever, you know.
Right,
like-
because this is my theory on this. When Jesus was saying man was made, the Sabbath was made for man and not man for the Sabbath,
something like that.
he says something like that into understanding that, like, and then he goes, if he's like, if you having sheep or like oxen or something and they fall in the ditch, are you not going to pull it out?
I will try my best.
Right, so that's what I believe he was trying to say. Like, we put all these weird burdens on ourselves, like uncomfortable burdens on ourselves, that I don't think that's really designed. I think it really binds you.
Yeah.
It really binds you. You're like, oh my God, I have to go. Oh, we're late. Then you start acting like super strict, not understanding that for the Spirit to come into you, you have to relax and be natural.
I think you're acting like people
You're forcing it.
are a little worldly.
Right. Religion should not be forced. You believe in something, you should not be forced. Nobody telling you, you know what I mean? Believe in Jesus. If they force you, how are you supposed to actually believe?
Right.
If you're supposed to do anything, you're not supposed to be forced. So you actually have to have the love of it inside of you. This is that love that comes from God. You love God so much. His Spirit comes inside of you.
Right.
And the love of it, the drive of it, the desire makes you want to do it. You want to serve him because you're like, I want to make him proud. Mm-hmm. So that's your desire. That's your heart. That's what you want to do. And that's why you understand, like, Jesus being the way. If this is the way, then I must be that way. Because I want to understand and make God happy. If his son made him happy, why should I not do as his son says?
Right.
Why should I not try to embody him? Because, as it says, you know, there's a prayer where I believe Jesus is going to go up and he prays with the disciples and he goes, as God is in me and I am in you. He's talking about, you could say that's a spiritual thing because obviously Jesus himself can't physically go inside of you.
Right.
But if he's saying, I am the way, all these different things, and God is in me and I am in you. It's like one of those eggs, those little...
The Russian egg?
Right, those little eggs. That's the same symbology he's trying to say to you. Like, follow me. I am going to show you. Let me. Embody what I am doing. Embody who I am, what I am doing. And when you embody it, you get to speak to him. When you embody it, you get to be with him. You actually have to have a harmonizing spirit about you. Like, people think they can be angry and all these different spirits about themselves and still worship. Like, it doesn't. It says, vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. But it is for you to love all men. You have to have love inside of you. And you have to love what you're doing, meaning believing in him. And you have to believe in him just like you believe tomorrow's going to come and you have to go to work.
Right.
That's the way you have to believe in him. And it's like, you know these things happen. Like, you know they're going to happen. But we also forget that what Jesus also says. If they have kept my word, so shall they keep yours. You know what I'm saying? If these things have happened to me, what do you think is going to happen to you? Don't think that you're not going to escape any of the torments or anything. He didn't tell them. He didn't tell them that would not happen.
Right.
He didn't tell any of the disciples these things would not happen. Because if you realize, all the disciples met their fate. So it's like, you have to also understand that they believed. What did they see? What did they see that made them go, nah? Just like Peter, he cut that man's ear off. Malchus. So him cutting his ear off, that he was like, I'm ready to go to prison and to death with you. Then Jesus is like, are you ready? Will you? Will you? Imagine like one of your boys saying, yo, I'm ready to ride for you. And then he goes, are you? Are you? Are you ready to ride for me? I'm willing to go into prison and to death with you. Will you? That's really what that happened. Like, if you really break it down. He's like, are you? And then he tells him, obviously, the cock shall not crow 3 times, and you shall deny that thou knowest me, Peter. And honestly, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. Very tough. But do you blame Peter? No. No. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't blame Peter because you're like, bro, I ain't gonna lie. If I was in that same situation, I might have done the same. You might have done the same, but we also forget that's why he forgives him. He goes, Peter, lovest thou me more than these? And he goes, yea, Lord, you know that I lovest you. You know these things. Feed my sheep. feed my flock. He's telling him, I forgive you. I forgive you. And that's the compassion. And that was after. That was after. Like, that's what I'm saying. I think a lot of people, they miss the understanding. And remember who you follow. The goal is to be like him, not to condemn others, not to hold others to whatever standards that you yourself can't even live up to, not to hold the magnifying glass or the weight on another man's shoulders that you yourself can't even bear. That's what he was saying to the Pharisees. That's what he was saying to the Pharisees. You put these burdens on their shoulders that you yourself can't even bear. You can't even do them either. Life is very difficult. Why are we as people going to make our lives difficult for other people? We already know the terrible things about life. You know what I mean? All the misfortunes that happen in between. So who are we as people to cause them for others? And then sit back and get joy when they're in misery. That's why I realize that a lot of people don't practice what they preach. They don't actually understand what they're reading. They heard it from someone else. Someone else told them the book, but they never read the book for themselves. Mm-hmm. How do you buy something and don't even look at it?
Talk to every college student out there. I'm kidding.
You bought into, think about this. You bought into something and full-heartedly, apparently, allegedly, believe in something that you are not willing to fulfill. So you don't really believe in it. Many shall say unto me, Lord, we have healed the sick. We have done these things in thy name. And he says, I never knew you. Turn away from me, ye workers of iniquity. You have to really believe. You can't just be sold the dream. You got to believe in the dream. And I think a lot of people just bought the dream and are unwilling to bear what it takes. Mm-hmm. You can level up your body. Every time you go to the gym, yeah, you level up your body. That's very true. You're leveling up your physical form. You can also level up your mental form. Keep reading books. Do all these different type of exercises for your brain. You'll mentally upgrade yourself. But how do you grow spiritually? Endurance. That's what people don't understand. You grow spiritually through endurance. Every trial you face in life, those are tests to build up your spirit. You go back and you remember, yo, I've been here before. They've done this before. I'm not going to fall again. That's why sometimes things happen to you repetitively and you can't even figure out why. You're meant to learn the lessons.
Right.
And the lesson is, endure. Christ endured. He saw it through. He wasn't afraid. I mean, he was afraid. And that's where you get to see the human emotion when he was in the Garden of Gethsemane and his sweat turned to great droplets of blood. Or like great droplets of blood. So, meaning that he was probably sweating profusely.
And why would they say blood?
Just to show how, like, the sheer magnitude, like, oh, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, some things were probably said to amplify the effect. And that definitely amplified, like, blood would just flow. That's what it's saying. He's sweating so profusely. That's how nervous he was. And he kept going to Peter saying, Peter, sleepest thou? Can thou not wait one more? You can't wait? Like, dang, bro. Like, that's what he's trying to say. I'm like, dude, you can't wait. You can't even sleep, bro. Do you know what's about to happen? He's literally saying that to him.
They knew.
They didn't know, but he knew. And then Judas shows up. And he says, I am he. And then it says that they fall back. They said, we are looking for Jesus of Nazareth. And he says his name. And they fall back. There's power in his word. There's power in the things that he was saying. And you could take that physically, spiritually, emotionally. There's so many things you can grab from the Bible. So many different things. That's why, my personal opinion, it's one of the greatest books. It's one of the greatest books. Old Testament, New Testament, you can learn so much. People think that, like I said, learning comes with, like, all these academics, like your degree, all these, yeah, but life is giving you lessons too. It's giving you blow after blow, and you are just not watching.
Right. You
have to learn to duck and weave and time it. You have to learn just the same thing with life. You got to learn when to bob. You got to learn when to weave. You need to know, because if you don't, be prepared for the next battle. That's why he's telling the disciples, I didn't tell you that the battles aren't going to come. You know, they're going to bring you before kings and magistrates. They're going to do all these things to you. He's telling them there's battles going to come. People are going to do things to you, try to harm you. That's very true. Life is going to get tough. But don't say I didn't warn you. And if they did that to me, they're going to do it to you. So don't think it won't happen.
Right.
But this book is teaching you how to endure it. It's like a manual on life. Anything you're looking for, going through anything, you can find something to help you in any moment. Any moment. I just think that most of us don't read it. Because like I said, my first pass through, I just read them and I was hearing them, in my mind, I was hearing them as stories. Right. Each individual story. Not understanding that a lot of these so-called stories or parables, some are really allegories. Like some can be taken literally and then not at the same time.
Right.
Like there's messages in them, and I think that a lot of people miss the messages. They just read the story, but there are stories in there. But like I said, a lot of people miss the message, and I think that's the point. Like you're supposed to build your spiritual momentum. You know, baptism is the first step. That's 1%. You're actually 0.5%. You just accepted the role to get, you know what I mean? You haven't even hit the 1% mark. And that's why he's talking about the seeds that fall on the ground. Mm-hmm. Jesus, he's talking that some fall on, you know, shaky ground, all these different, he's telling you the type of people that are you're going to meet in this faith. Right. They believe in God, but when things happen to them, they fall apart. They believe in God, but, you know what I mean? They don't really believe in it all the way. Then they believe in God and they're firmly planted. They go out and they spread. Right. You have to understand what he was saying. You need to be rooted. Like, I don't know how to, like, explain. And that also, like I said before, you can read it as a religion. Very true. But then also you can read it as you can read it as a manual.
Right.
And it's like one of the best books that anyone should really continuously read. And it like actually grows your understanding. Every time I read it, it's different. Every time I hear it, it's different. It's like things I missed. I'm like, oh, he said that. Oh, he said it like this. This is what happened. There's all these little different details that you literally pick up that you didn't hear. And it's like, the message is hard to hear if it's limited. Mm-hmm. And I think most people hear the message through other people's lenses, not their own. Meaning that, unfortunately, you're supposed to do your homework.
Right.
You know, church is supposed to be the assignment. You know, your teacher is there, meaning the leader there to give you the assignment. And when you go home, you're supposed to finish out the homework. That's why you come back one day of the week and kind of talk about what you went through. And in doing that, that's supposed to help you prepare for the next assignment next week.
Absolutely.
And I think sometimes even that, like, yeah, some people don't go. That's okay. But we also have to remember that faith is like homework. You got to work on it. You got to put the time. You got to study. You're not going to just understand one thing just by showing up and saying, I believe, and then getting baptized. But do you really understand what you're committing yourself to? Do you understand that, yeah, you're not perfect. You're going to fall. You're not him, but you're trying to be like him. You're not Christ, but you're trying to be like him. And it's okay to fall. And I think a lot of people, they don't think that falling is possible. You know, they don't think that falling is possible. But everyone has to, obviously, believing it. You're taking on his name, so you obviously believe in him. You believe in the special work that he did. It's like, if you don't believe in me for the very work's sake. The things that I'm doing.
Right.
And that's why they said, when have we ever seen a man do these things? When have we seen a man do any of this? I think the funniest part, for me, there's two funny parts. One funny part is where they're on the boat and the storm is coming. And they get like so freaked out by the storm that they go and get Jesus. And it says that Jesus was sleeping, he was sleeping on a pillow. He wasn't even worried. That's how you need to be. You're on the boat. The storm is going crazy outside. Everybody is like, why are you not freaking out? And you're like, what does he do? Jesus goes out and he tells the storm to calm itself. And everyone's like, when have we ever seen a man tell the storm to stop? Like, we've never seen anybody do that. And they were baffled. And that's what people understand. You could hear that literally, that he literally did that. Or is or is the message behind that, in your times of trouble, where the storm is coming and everyone else is in panic, be calm. Be calm. Like, no matter what is happening around you, the storm is happening, but be calm in the storm. And I think a lot of people miss that. They miss that. The things he was doing, take the message and why he was doing it. Right. He said, "Do you follow me because for the meat, or do you follow me because I am who I say that I am?" He's like, something like, worry not for the meat, for it perishes. Meaning that, do we believe because we come to eat together? Do we believe, like some people only come because you're feeding them?
For real. Especially family events.
You know, some people only come because you're feeding them, and that's what he's saying. Like, do you believe in me because I fed you? Or do you believe in me because I am who I say I am?
Right.
That's what people have to understand. He said certain things with purpose. I don't think a word came out of his mouth that wasn't with purpose. He didn't say nothing, do nothing by accident. Everything was to make you understand, as the listener, the person hearing it, there's a message behind this. How do I grow and understand the message? And like I said, most people hear the works like, oh my God, he walked on water. He's defying the odds through belief. He told Peter, come out. What's the message in that? He's walking out on the water. They thought they saw a spirit or a ghost. He tells them, no, it's me. Peter said, if I'm able to, bid me that I'm able to come out on the sea with you. Jesus says, come. Time out. Jesus is right there showing him, you can do what I can do. Walk out on the water. Don't be afraid. And I think a lot of people are afraid. They're not understanding that message was to show you that he defied reality in his faith. He believed so strongly. And obviously, many of us have had many times where we believed and it just didn't work out. Sometimes things don't work out because it's protection. Let me say that again.
As Katy Perry said, rejection can be God's protection.
Okay. Anyway, but like, no, I'm kidding. But like, seriously, not anyway. That is true. Like, sometimes God will close one door, but open another door.
Yeah.
Him that openeth and shutteth, and no man, or him that shutteth and no man openeth, and openeth and no man shutteth. Meaning that you could say this thing, he does close doors for you. That's very true. You know, God does close doors for you, but then he opens up new ones. He reroutes your path. He directs you, leads you, and guides you. You know, that's one of the biggest things. Don't forget that. But also, like I said before, many of the things that he did were lessons for you as the reader or hearer should grow on and expand on and really understand the purpose. And I know I generally don't talk religion, but I think for me, honestly, this is probably one of my stronger suits. Like, this is like one of the things that I actually enjoy. I'm not saying that I'm perfect at it, but I think that talking about it is actually what grows your understanding. The more you talk about something, the more you have someone explain something to you, is actually what grows your understanding. And like, from my understanding, I think that was the purpose of Christ. Like, his very right. Okay. Remember that show? This is a bad one, like a bad one. Okay, so remember, obviously, Mad TV, right? And you remember Stewart.
No.
You never seen that where he goes, "Look what I can do."
I've only remember Bonquiqui.
When he's like, "Look what I can do." That's kind of what was happening. Like, he was saying, like, "Look what I can do," but in a weird way of like, "Look what I can do," but you can do this too.
Right.
You can do this too. When the keys are given to you, you can do this too. When all these things, when you overcome and do the trials that life will give you and work through them through belief. And I think, like I said, that was the purpose. That was the purpose of the man. But anyway, yeah. Well, that was pretty good. Boy!